Let's discuss every single undefeated college wrestling team since 2015. Every single undefeated team since 2015. So, first of all, let's discuss this year. This year, right now, there are two undefeated teams. We started out the year back in December. There were 6, 7, 8 undefeated teams, including Iowa, NC State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Arizona State, Penn State. I don't think I said them yet. Virginia Tech, all these undefeated teams, and now we're down to two. I mean, that's why we wrestle. We wrestle to see which teams are undefeated. The funny thing is, I believe at that point I had NC State, and they had the best chances of going undefeated. Iowa was a little bit lower. Penn State was a little bit lower, but obviously Penn State lost out early on. But let's talk about which teams are undefeated right now. The first team that is undefeated, obviously, are the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa already defeated strong opponents in Iowa State, Wisconsin, Nebraska. They've defeated 4 top 25 opponents, which is darn impressive for the Hawkeyes. But they're on their revenge tour now. Last week they beat Ohio State. This week they have Penn State, then Michigan and Oklahoma State coming up. Got to beat both of those teams to stay alive in that revenge tour. I think it's possible that they beat all three. It's also possible that they could lose one. You never know. But they could end up, if they win the rest of their season, win out, they could end up 13-0. The other undefeated team this year, which has slowly become one of my other favorite college wrestling teams to watch, is NC State. Mostly because of the Hidleys, Hayden, as well as Trent. I mean, those two have just been on fire this year. I love watching those two, both Pennsylvania boys. Now, NC State is a program. The last loss was actually to Pitt at the end of last season. They will be wrestling them again this year. Pitt is a top 10 program right now. They deserve to be there. They also have number 8 UNC coming up in February in just 2 weeks, which I really want to be at that duel. I really want to be there, as well as Virginia Tech, upcoming Virginia Tech, who UNC just beat. Virginia Tech was undefeated coming into this week. Now, they've already defeated Cornell and Princeton, their two best wins. If they win out the rest of the season, they will end up 15-0, making Iowa and NC State some of the best programs that we've seen go undefeated. Now, there are actually only 2 more programs that have been undefeated since 2015. And of course, I don't even need to say much more. You guys already know that this next team is Penn State. And there is one more surprise team that if you are just new to college wrestling, maybe you don't know about them, but they have had the best undefeated season out of any of these teams in the last 5-6 years. So, over the last couple of years, Penn State's been undefeated from 2015 to 2019. They've been undefeated. Of course, they're loss coming to Arizona State this year. They could still be undefeated, but they have that blemish on the record now. In 2018, a couple of their big wins over Arizona State was whenever Hall defeated Valencia in the dual meet. In Michigan, that was another big win that year in 2018, 2019. In Ohio State, whenever Nickel defeated Moore and Nick Lee defeated Joey McKenna in the duel. I was at that duel. Great match. They ended their season actually with a win over Buffalo, which kind of an anticlimactic win at the end of the season, which I'll get to in just a couple seconds about great ends of the season for Penn State. In 2017, 2018, this is where Penn State was also 14-0 the last 3 seasons. Excluding this one, they were 14-0. Their big wins were over Ohio State, Minnesota, Iowa, and they ended the season with a 55-0 victory over Buffalo yet again. And this was the year that Ohio State was supposed to beat Penn State in 2017, 2018, and didn't because Kassar bumped it in the lineup, wrestled Moore, beat Moore. Bo Nickel wrestled Miles Martin. Big victory for the team, as well as Neville's. This is an easily forgotten about match, but Neville's and Kyle Snyder. I mean, the momentum was so hype going on that weekend in Rec Hall that Neville's almost, I don't want to say he almost beat Kyle Snyder, but he was taking him down quite a few times. It was absolutely wild. But that clinched Penn State the trophy that year. And then the last 2 years, 2016 and 2015, Penn State was 14-0 and 16-0 respectively. And these were a little bit more exciting years because this is when they ended their season with wins against Oklahoma State in the NWCA dual championships. And these were very exciting matches back in the times whenever they were still wrestling the dual meet championships, and that was an exciting time. I wish it still happened. A couple of other big duels during those years in 2015, 2016 was whenever Nolf wrestled against Illinois and ended up pinning Imar. Massive. That was one of the biggest victories that year. And anyways, let's move on to the last undefeated team. Who is the last undefeated team? Well, if you follow college wrestling, you probably know that the 19-0 undefeated team in 2017, 2018 was Mizzou. Missouri was 19-0. Had a streak that ran from February 2017 to February of 2019. So a 2-year streak, essentially. And their loss coming to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State loves to take out teams as in those upsets. I mean, big win for Oklahoma State. Massive matchup. They had wins throughout the season over Illinois, Virginia Tech, UNC, Cornell, as well as Oklahoma State during that year. Whenever Ironman, that one of the biggest matches was Ironman and Dean Heil. When Ironman actually pinned Dean Heil, that was a massive match. Of course, Heil, the two-time national champion. This was on their team with Jaden Ironman, who is now an Iowa Hawkeye, interestingly enough. Ernestine, Grant Leith, Willie Miklas, and Daniel Lewis. What a team there. These are some of the best undefeated teams, the 4 best programs of the last 5 years, arguably, just because of their records. These, you can see their records right here. Undefeated season since 2015. Only went back about 5 years just because this has been some of the dominant teams. It's possible that Iowa and NC State both go undefeated this year, making it the first year that teams would go undefeated since the 2017-2018 season. Are you fans of these schools, or what team do you want to go undefeated? Can Iowa and NC State both go undefeated this year? Let me know in the comments below.